Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're joining us from all around the world. I can see a few people still trickling in to the room, probably grabbing their afternoon or morning or evening coffees or maybe something stronger, depending where you are in the world. We're almost at the weekend. We're almost there. So we're going to give everyone just a few more minutes to join the room, and then we'll definitely get going. Let me make sure we're absent and conscious of everyone's time here. A few bit of housekeeping rules as normal. Q&A is enabled, I believe, so there should be questions available. Please put your questions into the chat. Myself and Marko are here to answer them, and we've got QA and Ask Me Anything session at the end. But put them throughout the whole presentation, whole demo, because we can answer them there and then if we can.
Yep.
It's being recorded. You will receive a recording afterwards. Yes, you can have a copy of the slides afterwards if you'd like to. And this will be available on demand, also for anyone who has missed it or any colleagues you want to send on to, because it's obviously going to be the best webinar you've watched since the last one me and Marko did last week. And yeah, so just in case anyone does miss it or you need to drop off, you will receive the recording and they'll be on demand as well. Right, I think people have managed to get comfy in their seats. We're a few minutes past the hour now. So let's get going. So HYCU Tech Bootcamp, this is part two. For anyone who doesn't know, you may have missed part one last week. Again, it is available on demand, haiku.com, resources. You'll find it somewhere, somewhere there. This is all about complete resilience for Nutanix. I mean, look, we're talking about always observing this time round. So again, if you missed it last week, same presenters as last week, but my name is Chris Rogers. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at HYCU. I'm predominantly responsible for our hybrid cloud solutions, so mainly Nutanix, Dell, VMware, Hyper-V, Azure Local, those types of solutions. And delighted to be joined by Marko. So Marko, do you want to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hello, everybody. Also from my end, my name is Marko. I'm running our sales engineering and solutions here at HYCU. And it's going to be fun with Chris again.
Amazing. So Marko's been here, been at HYCU since the start. So before
But
even lines of code were written, I'd imagine you were here ready to go. So yeah, Marko knows everything very in depth. So feel free to ask as many questions as we need to, and if I can't answer them, Marko definitely will be able to. So
no
if
pressure.
anyone, and we've got to do a little bit of who HYCU is, just in case we've got some new people on the phone. So sorry if you saw this last week. It's not as many slides as last week, I promise you. So who's HYCU? So we're not a startup in this industry. We've been here a long time now. I think maybe what 8 years. I think it's the eighth year with the product. Nearly 5,000 customers, if not over that now. Last time it's updated, I think over 80 countries and nearly 450 channel partners worldwide, and backed by some of the biggest names in the business, as you can see across the bottom there. So what is our product? Well, we have a product called HYCU R Cloud. This gives you the total protection across your entire modern data estate. So total visibility, total protection, total recovery, and total control, which is a big theme of what we're going to be going into today as well. And obviously, we're talking about Nutanix today, and that's just a very small piece of what we do. I mean, it's a very large piece of our story if you watched last week's webinar, but very small piece of what we actually do overall. We do Nutanix, all the other logos you can see there in the IaaS world. So from VMware, NetApp, Dell, Google Cloud, Azure, AWS, etc. Files, folders, you name it, we can do that. Then also all the way across into the modern spectrum as well. So across your hybrid and multi-cloud. All three public cloud providers have got incredible coverage. We actually have the biggest coverage in Google Cloud, probably bordering on the biggest coverage in AWS, I'd imagine as well. And we've really just upped our game in Azure very recently as well. And you can see we've actually number one in the number of SaaS applications we provide. I think it's about 8 to 10 times more than the next competitor in terms of the amount of SaaS applications we cover. And then even in sort of super new workloads, there's AI and ML workloads. So Google BigQuery, for instance, we've actually got a patent for atomic backups for Google BigQuery, for instance. So you can see from our coverage, it's not just about Nutanix, but across all of that modern data estate as well. And today we're going to be talking about HYCU R Shield. So this is where our complete resilience for Nutanix comes in. So HYCU R Shield is essentially a fabric that runs throughout the whole of our R Cloud platform. So it comes in three pillars, if you will. So always protected, we did last week. We're doing always observing this week, and then next week I'll be joined by a guest speaker. So Marko's on holiday, unfortunately. And some people call him lazy, but hey, I'm not going to say that.
I had to cancel it, maybe, Chris, so I might be joining.
Oh, you might. Oh, okay, cool. Well, maybe. And then next week will be always ready, where we're going to dive into like the recovery and validations and those types of things. But today, always observing. So you can see here we have the HYCU R Cloud platform, which we discussed just a minute ago. And then the R Shield kind of sits as a barrier around the outside of that, right? Giving you total protection and control um, and cyber resilience across all of those workloads without giving up any of the bits that are in the middle as well. So hopefully that kind of gives you a real snapshot of what R Shield is in context to R Cloud. Everything at HYCU has to start with an R. It's just that's the law. I don't know why. It just does. But it stands for R Cloud stands for Resiliency Cloud, and Arc is Resiliency Shield, right? So so you can understand that. So HYCU R Shield always observing. So it was really hard to kind of boil these down into three things, but I've kind of done it into compliance, which sounds super boring, but it's actually much, much better than that. Investigation and forensics, and then identifying threats as the three kind of key or core themes I'm going to be talking about today with my slides. So the first one I'm actually going to go to is the really cool stuff, which is the detection piece. So at HYCU, we have a two-pronged defense to detection, or attack, however you want to look at it. You can play defense or attack, if you're American, it's defense, right? Yeah, whatever. Detection, and we have that in two flavors, two forms. So we have the anomaly detection, which is that indicator of compromise. So something's happening in your backups, look at it. And then we have malware scanning, so searching for malicious data inside of your backups as well. So we have this as a joint proposition. So it's not either or. You use them together on the same sets of virtual machines, on the same data sets. So you kind of get that. I'm going to call it a fail-safe approach, but if one pings and one doesn't, you can go investigate. But if you get something that pings on both, you're going, oh, hey, something does really look wrong here. Like it's to try and reduce that amount of the false positives we do get across our infrastructure and across the alerting we do get. So let's dive into a little bit of the anomaly detection piece. So the first one is it's a policy-based detection, and we are going to show you all this in a little bit as well. And some of this is actually a little preview. So the policy piece is coming in 5.2, which is only a couple of weeks out now. If engineering don't lie to me. So I thought I'd put it in here because it's important for us to get this out to the marketplace, and by the time you guys have downloaded it, installed it, and everything, you have it in there anyway. So policy-based detection. So it's built into production policies, and it's not an add-on, right? So it's not something you have to configure post. It's inside of your policies where you configure your backups, where you configure your RPO, your RTO, where your backups are going to be stored, how long you're going to keep them for, all those things that you do in a normal backup protection policy. We've now added anomaly detection into that as well. So it's part of your everyday routines and adding cyber resilience into your normal routine of backing up a virtual machine, backing up data sets, right? And then on the back of that, we then have our instant alerting engine. So alerting is sent instantly to any system. So this is done by a webhook, or our reports, either one. But for the instant alerting, you can put it in a webhook. And that webhook can be sent to any SIEM or source system. So we have that extensibility across the platform where you can say, I'm running Splunk, or I'm running CrowdStrike, I'm running whatever else I'm running as my platform where I want to observe everything from. So you don't have to just be reliant on HYCU, someone looking at HYCU constantly, right? We want it to be kind of a set and forget. Ideally, you don't log into HYCU unless you need to. We don't want someone sitting there refreshing HYCU just to see if something's happening, right? That's not the idea behind it. Do you want to say something, Marko? You come off mute, I saw.
The UI looks nice. So.
Yeah, the UI does look nice. Yeah, maybe our UI engineers won't be too happy about if I say no one wants to log into it. We're running dynamic calculations as well, so it's not just static. We're looking at real data. And then backup storage independence. This one is a theme that we keep, and something you'd notice from last week about control and sovereignty, which is a kind of a theme throughout the whole of the HYCU core product set. We don't sell storage. HYCU never sells storage. Our CEO will be the first to tell you that HYCU isn't a storage vendor. We don't want to sell storage, whether that's AWS or that's whatever else it might be. We don't sell storage. So all of the features and functionality we're speaking about today are completely independent of any storage vendor. So you can use any architecture. So you can use direct to cloud. You can go to tape. You can go to NFS share. You can go to S3 object. You can go to a data domain, right? All of these features are completely independent of the storage you're landing on, which is not typically the case across backup vendors. Typically, the stronger ones in the marketplace who are strong in the cyber resilience sector have their own boxes that come with it, right? So they land all the data on the boxes, and then the boxes do the work, right? Which is okay. But if you have boxes already, or you want to choose a different type of box, you can't really do that with those vendors, right? You're tied into whichever boxes you want to buy. You're boxed in, exactly that. Why didn't I think of that? I'm not a marketing guy. I should have thought of that one. Going to put me out of a job, Marko. So hopefully we understand a little more, and we will show you the detection, the anomaly detection piece, how it looks and how it feels in the demo at the end as well. And then we go into malware scanning. So this is fast, efficient ransomware scanning. For currently, it's Nutanix AHV as our first iteration, but we're looking to expand this into VMware, Nutanix files, and beyond in the future. This is our first iteration. It's for Nutanix AHV. It's by far our biggest data set that we at HYCU have in the hybrid cloud is virtual machines under Nutanix control. So that's where we started. So rapid detection. So again, detection is done at source. And I've got a slide in a little bit that kind of explains a little bit about this. So I won't go into too much detail, but essentially we're scanning the data where it lives. Again, like I said before, in the marketplace, typically when you see scanning, it's going to be on a box or sent to someone else's cloud to be scanned, and then the results sent back to you, right? Great. But what about the storage sovereignty, the control, and if anyone's American, I'm really sorry, but sovereignty is becoming a really big problem, especially in Europe now with what's happening in America, global tensions and all that. A lot of the, you know, big clouds are now seen as kind of not unsafe, but kind of like maybe we're going to just take a step back just in case. We don't want to send our critical data to these clouds just in case something happens, or that there's suddenly an executive order that suddenly we can read all data that's stored on a US company, right? Not at the moment, but we need to make sure we're ready for that. And that kind of then is that data control piece I've been speaking about. Organizations want their data stored and processed, more importantly, where they want it to, not in a random place that a vendor controls, right? As soon as you give up data control and it's someone else's in someone else's tenant under someone else's lock and key, you then expose yourself to third-party supply chain risks and all the other things. You're kind of dependent on whatever they want to do with it. We get that double protection, as I mentioned before. So we've got the anomaly detection piece plus the ransomware scanning on top of it. And then again, backup storage independent. We're scanning the data where it lives on production grade infrastructure as well. So I'm sure the first question is going to be, but you're using production grade infrastructure. Is that going to take away from my virtual machines? No, it's super lightweight. And I'll explain essentially now how we do it. But for anyone who's super technical, what we're doing is essentially taking the data and running it through Yara scanning. So it's content matching essentially, which is one of the most effective ways of capturing malware and malware signatures, rather than having a static list of malware signatures gets updated, once a week, once a month, whatever it might be. This is looking at pattern matching and all those types of things using RF scans. So how does it work? So let's go through a backup of HYCU, and then we can tag on the bit there. So the first piece that HYCU does is in Nutanix, we take a storage level snapshot. And if anyone knows HYCU and Nutanix very well, they know that the storage snaps aren't like a VMware snapshot, for instance, where it has that kind of reputation for slowing things down and causing problems in the system, right? And kind of stunning workloads. The storage level snapshots don't have that. They have redirect on write, which means the snapshots can be left on the storage system without any impact to the production workloads. So essentially, we take that storage level snapshot, integrating via the APIs as we do at HYCU nice and deeply, and then we back them up, right? And we back those up to anywhere you want. So we've got cloud targets and archive and cyber vaulting and backup targets, right? So this is your normal backup workflow. So once the normal backup workflow has done, the important piece there is once the backup workflow has done, we then keep that snapshot around on the Nutanix cluster itself. And then we scan the snapshot. So we're not scanning live data. So we're not accessing the VM and scanning the VM. So your VM is not infected. Your production VMs are continuing to run and perform exactly what they do. But that storage level snap that we have available to us, we're then mounting to HYCU, running the URL rule scanning across it, and away we go. And we do it really efficiently. So the first scan in a backup chain is a full. So we run the fulls. And then after that, we only scan the incrementals. So essentially, we're scanning it, on an incremental basis. So they're super quick, super easy, and done on production grade kit as well. So we're not having to ship that off to a box and then ship that metadata up to a cloud and then process in the cloud because we lack processing power on premise in the backup boxes, and then bring that back down and then tell you the results afterwards, right? We're doing it at source and in your control. And again, with using any of these backup targets you want, right? So we've got data domain on the screen there. You could use Nutanix objects. You can use data domain in the cloud. You can use S3. You can use Wasabi. You can use whatever you essentially want as your backup storage, completely in your control, and you can still utilize the malware scanning. So it's a huge benefit. And when we built this out, that's essentially what we wanted to do. We wouldn't want to compromise our ethos of control and sovereignty for the customer and their customer data. So we did things where the data lives, not post backup and post once it's landed in another domain, where it currently sits. And then once we've scanned the data, we then send out alerting and notifications in real time based on that webhook. The same webhook we use for the anomaly detection, we build out there as well. So hopefully that kind of gives everyone an idea of how it works. This is kind of like 201 level. It's not super deep, but it's not, it's not just just the yes, we do scanning. And we haven't really got time to go like super deep into every single Yara rule we're going to run, all that kind of stuff. But we have a subset of Yara rules that we get, but customers can bring their own Yara rules as well if they want to. So they can have their own repositories of Yara rules. They can do whatever content matching they want across the board. They can use whatever repo of Yara rules that they see fit, or whether their CISO wants to use as well, right? So bring your own, use ours, combine them, do whatever you want, right? Run 1 million, it's completely up to you as a customer. We don't tell you what to run. We don't tell you what is being scanned for. It's completely down to you what you look for and what you scan. And also which VMs you scan. For your dev machines that aren't on the network and things, you don't have to scan everything. It's not an all or nothing. You can have an exclusion, you can have an inclusion, completely down to a customer point of view as well. And then we go into know your RTO. So this is one of the big things when I joined HYCU about, I don't know, 7-8 months ago when I first joined. This is one of the things that I was like, this is really cool. Why has no one told me like this? Like we had a catch up with Marko and he showed me the tech and I played around with it and I was like, well, this is cool. Like, no, I've never seen this before. I've been in the backup and data protection game for quite a while now, and I've not seen this before. So essentially, know your RTO is exactly what it says on the tin, right? So when we look at cyber attacks, they're not exempt from business SLAs. Unfortunately, everyone who's in the backup admin and everything wishes they were. Wishes if it's a cyber attack, we have a different set of business SLAs. You can take 3 weeks to recover the data. Don't worry. Unfortunately, not the case. It's still going to be we need that data back in 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, whatever those business SLAs are. And knowing how quickly operations can be restored is vital to your planning, right? If you've got 50 petabytes of data, you're not getting 50 petabytes of data back in 20 seconds, right? We know that, right? So knowing what your RTO is and what the art of the possible is something that's incredibly important. And often when people report RTO values, they're not representative of real world. Typically, so I've been a backup admin and a sysadmin myself in previous lives. The way we knew our RTO and where we tracked it was every Friday, maybe around this time actually, we would then do some practice restores of some virtual machines, right? After 3 months, you're doing the same VMs, the same restores, you get lazy. You kind of go, yeah, it's the same, it's fine, it worked. And we get this kind of like artificial RTO, which I call it, it's not really representative. And maybe we're testing 5 VMs, 10 VMs, 20 VMs, but actually our estate is 100, 200, 300 VMs. So we're not really getting what our RTO is going to be at scale. But at HYCU, we actually tell you for every single restore point how long we think this is going to take to recover. So you can see the estimated time for recovery, 30 minutes. And this is aligning business values then technical outcomes. So, we want to back up every 1 day. Guess what? The time since last backup was 23 hours, 56 minutes. Met the objective of every hour, every 1 day backup. And we use recover within 5 hours. And actually, the estimated time for the recovery for this is 13 minutes. And that's where you see that green checkbox by the compliance piece, which says, yeah, you are in compliant of your RPO and your RTO. And we just have very clever calculations. We constantly monitor storage targets, data set sizes, restore speeds, all this kind of things to say this is how long we expect it to take. And what does that give us? Well, no time like the present, right? This is real time, real RTO presented back to you. This is continuously monitored. And the way that I like to think about this is, we've got our VMware admins, our Nutanix admins, infrastructure teams, then we've got the network team. And the network team always say, hey, it's never the network. It's never the network. It's always, imagine it. And I've had something where someone's dropped a gateway before, right? And all my stuff went haywire. He put the gateway back on, went, sorry, guys. And I spent 4 weeks cleaning up his mess because he dropped, 10 minutes worth of traffic and everything else happened, right? So what happens if someone makes a config error in a firewall or a switch or a router or something like that, right? And all it's doing is, it's just slowing, it's maybe throttling traffic or something stupid like that. It's not going to be really until you test that or you kind of push that boundary that you go, yeah, that's going to cause an issue, right? My restore speed was 500 meg, now it's down to 5 meg because someone, didn't put the zeros in the policy correctly, whatever it may be. We're going to tell you that you can no longer meet your RTO. Or if the DBA has dumped 2 terabytes of SQL dumps onto that drive and suddenly that box has doubled in size. It used to restore within 59 minutes of a 1 hour SLA, but now it takes 2 hours suddenly that is now uncompliant, and you're going to receive an alert to say this is not compliant anymore. So not is it just at the point of recovery, but also on an ongoing basis, you can test whether you are in compliance. And that is this continuous compliance notion, not just at the time of backup to say, yep, at the time of backup or at the time of testing or at the time that we did this piece of work, we're compliant, but no, ongoing compliance as well. So this is that observing piece we're talking about, observing not just your data sets, but also the infrastructure, the platform to say, yes, your data set can be recovered in the time that you need it to be recovered in. And the last one there is knowledge is power, right? What a lovely position to be in as a sysadmin or as a tech guy to go to your board or your boss or say, yep, I've looked at all of our backups and our average RTO is going to be 23 minutes across every single one. That's the power of what we can do at HYCU is when someone says, oh, by the way, how long do you think it's going to take to get this app back if we need to? Oh yeah, that app's going to be 23 minutes. Cool, thank you. I'm not sure. Well, our SLA is 4 hours, so we probably guarantee it 4 hours. Yeah, but how long is it going to actually take? We guarantee 4 hours, and you kind of get into that, that trade-off. This is real information back to you again. And the last piece I want to cover before we go on to kind of demo and questions and everything else that we have here is clean room investigation or
Chris,
forensics.
maybe just to jump in on the last
Yeah.
one.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Marko.
I'll start calling you Super Haiku Chris to the rescue. Anyway, the point which I wanted to make is it's a great thing, which you can also get reports on this, right? Because a lot of organizations need to report this upstream, and maybe if you're a service provider, you need to report to your customers or to parts of the organization and so on. And getting these types of report, it's enough to look at only one thing in HYCU, which is your compliance report on a daily basis. And if you're compliant, if all of your VMs, files, shares, and so on, apps are compliant, it doesn't mean like I did a backup in time. It actually means that you can restore the data inside the given time frame by the business, which is a tremendous thing, right? And this is where these type of reports are really, really something that service providers or bigger organizations really, really appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've mentioned this word a few times. Compliance is a really boring word, and people kind of, especially in the tech world, we kind of turn off from compliance. Like let someone else worry about the compliance piece, right? But it is really important when we start looking at DORA and NIST and all these things and all these different regulations we have to hit. Can you recover in time? Can you meet your business SLAs? How do you prove that, right? It's not just enough to say, yeah, we set our SLA at 2 hours. Okay. What are you doing about it? How can you prove that you can do that for us? How can you prove that you can get this application back online? And this is the power. You don't have to spend your weekends testing testing every single virtual machine and seeing how long it takes, right? You can just go into here and say that. I'm not saying don't test. I think it's a very popular, very valuable thing. We'll cover testing and validation next week in next week's session. And how we can help you save time there as well. And then the last piece here is clean room investigation. So this isn't recovery, right? We're going to cover again clean room recovery next time. But clean room investigation is, hey, something looks iffy or something isn't quite right in my environment. Maybe I'm going to isolate the machine, but I want to go back. I want to go back to a clean copy or the first point in time that HYCU's told me is not good. But I don't want to put it back onto my production systems, right? I need to put it somewhere else. So from on-premise, so data domain objects, all the other places that we've said that we can store data, or from the cloud, you can then bring that back through HYCU and restore that to clean infrastructure. And that can be cross-hypervisor as well. So if you've got some legacy VMware or you've got a Nutanix cluster from a VMware backup or a Hyper-V or Azure Stack HCI, it's called Azure Local now, but they still haven't released a logo for Azure Local, so I have to put the Azure Stack HCI logo. Everyone still calls it Azure Stack HCI, so until that catches on, I'm gonna stick to my guns and putting the logo there. Or you can even spin these up in the cloud as well. So even if you haven't got any compute power on premise that you've got spare or a clean room or clean infrastructure, you can spin this up into AWS, GCP, Azure, from any point in time the HYCU has as well. So that kind of gives you this on-demand clean room. You can investigate things. You can put that off there into one side, get your red team to go look at it, get your tiger team to go and look at it. Even do some proactive scanning if you want. There's a use case there to say I don't want to scan my VMs because scanning VMs takes time, or I want to do a real deep introspective scan of my virtual machines. But if I do that, it's going to take processing power and my app's going to suffer, right? I won't be able to serve my customers properly. We'll take yesterday's backup, restore it into Azure, AWS, GCP, run your scanning up there. Then from yesterday or whatever it was, that whatever is clean is clean. Done. So it gives you that flexibility to provide on-demand compute, that elasticity of the cloud, or your own on-premise infrastructure if you have it as well, to be able to then push that to wherever you want. You can restore it to a service provider if you want to, for instance, like IVH or something like that. Wherever else you want to go, you can then suddenly push that back up into clean infrastructure on demand as well. So that's the end of the slide. You'll be glad to know. Hopefully people have got some questions. Haven't been monitoring the QA. No, none yet. I'm surprised no one's got some questions.
You're very crisp and clean.
Oh, that's good. I must have done an amazing job so far.
Amazing.
But please ask your questions, because this is where you guys can find out the information you need, the information you want. Please ask any questions. Maybe you'll have loads more when we get into the demo. But yeah, please ask any questions you do have. Don't save them to the end. We'll take them whenever. But hopefully you kind of understand, as a recap, dual attack or dual defense against malware with anomaly detection, and also real malware scanning, clean room investigation, and also continuous compliance with that, knowing your RTO, knowing your RPO, making sure you're all compliant in that regard as well. So that's the observing piece. And also we have a big visibility play as well, which we can show in reporting and alerting as well. So onto the demo. So I'll stop sharing. And Marko, you ready to take over?
Definitely. Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
So Greg has got a quick question, Marko, before we start. Are we running multiple YARA rules in parallel or sequential against the snapshot?
In parallel, basically, we're given the YARA scanner a full signature, a list of signatures which it goes through, right, on the AOS snapshots. But yeah, we'll cover it also as part of the demo. So this is our HYCU 5.1, which you'll probably know by now. And what we're going to do now is jump into the future a bit, because I managed to get some bits from our engineering. Mind you, this is the future. So future is able to change.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, subject to change. Nothing is committed by showing you this. The legal stuff we have to say.
Legal stuff.
I should have put the slide up at the start, but yeah, this is, as Marko said, looking to the future. This is a preview beta release, so it's not something that's publicly available if you guys download today. The scanning and anomaly detection is already in 5.1. We just try and change slightly how it works, how it feels as well. So you'll see it from here.
Yep. So our new release, one thing which is bringing up, which is what we talked about, is finally what I think a lot of our customers have been waiting for as well, is really getting this SAR shield into the UI and the ability to report and so on, right? So now what we have is in our policies menu, you'll see that we have a new type of policy similar to how we had our hiving policy. We have a R shield policy in which you can really configure for this first release anomaly detection config, so you can really control when to get kind of warned based on percentage, based on different periods in months, days, in the units of backups, right? So this is something which we have already now. We'll continue adding also some more options to configure the scanning as well in this. But the essence is you configure these policies, and then same as you're used to in HYCU, to assign, our hiving policies, fast restore. Now you're able to assign also R shield, and you simply click on R shield and assign this policy to the HYCU policy. And that's pretty much it, right? From the configuration perspective, it's kept very simple. And if we now go into our virtual machines on Nutanix, we can see this fancy new icon and logo, which is the R shield column here, actually telling us now in a single place, apart from our compliance, right, which we talked about, apart from us telling you if this is compliant, protected, meaning we have a valid backup, we also tell you now what's the status from the R shield ransomware protection perspective, right? So we'll tell you if there is anomaly detection, what's the status of the anomaly detection, if there is any changes, and we'll tell you also what's the status of the malware detection, meaning the YARA scanner as well. So in this case, the anomaly detection actually didn't kick in yet. Why? Because we need to have a certain threshold of backups. As you can see, I have just three restore points, so it didn't actually kick in yet to calculate it, but the malware detection did, and this is something we scanned to the restore points and they were fine, nothing was found, right? If we look at the second one, for example, this one does have the anomaly detection status because we had multiple restore points, and it turned out that there was no differences in change rates. So again, we are fully green. And then you come to more interesting things where we discovered that something is now suspicious when it comes to anomaly detection, right? It means that, hey, the system recognized that the change rates, how you configure them also, and thresholds were and it was patch Tuesday or something, right? And when you click this, it's going to change the status back into okay, so you don't have to look at it anymore. You checked it, it's fine, it's okay, right? And then on top, you also have another use case where we actually scanned one of the VMs, and we did uncover the scanner actually detected a couple of malware signatures from the Yara scanner. As mentioned by Chris, so what we'll do is we use one of the repositories of Yara to actually sync up with it constantly. Customers have the ability to control what gets scanned, bring their own Yara rules, control which type of VMs, how many VMs are getting scanned, and all of these things. The point is, we're scanning the snapshot, which is still there, and we'll notify you here in UI immediately that there was something found. And then we give you a link below to tell you, hey, this is where you can find out more information and dig deeper into the logs as well to find out what's happening. So really kept very simple in the main page, in the main UI, really hurting your eyes if something is going wrong. But obviously you can also get reports built in. So there is a built-in report, R-Shield, so it generates something. Let's take a look at it. Basically, this one is going to tell you in real details if something is going on wrong. For example, this particular one had suspicious anomaly detection. So we tell you the anomaly average, we tell you what's the deviation, so how much was now changed in this particular machine. Mind you, this is bytes. We'll see that we put this in the more human readable format. But again, this gives you a nice report, which you can again resort similar to the compliance report. You can actually get a report in your inbox also on the R-Shield status. You can even combine it for that matter, and get a single report in your inbox in a PDF format or CSV format or whatever you want, right? Again, point being, even though UI is very beautiful, you don't have to log into every single thing, right? And that's it, right? Really kept it very simple, very much to the point, and allowing you to finally have a single status regarding how your virtual machines are behaving, if there's any threats to your systems. I think Chris did a great job on the presentation of the RTO assurance, also in the slides, so there's not much to it. We can check it also in the live system, where you'll see if let's maybe search for one of the machines. Let's take a bigger one. Oracles are usually bigger. So if we hover on the compliance, you can see what's the estimated time of recovery, which is 1 hour. If we look at this other one, let's see, 28 minutes. So again, we are here inside the given time frame mandated by the business in the policy. So the parameter which you put in the policy itself directly is the RTO. So I need to get it back inside 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, and really giving you as an admin the peace of mind that you can restore the data inside the given time frame. And also react before it's too late, because on the dashboard itself, you're going to be notified if something is not compliant. And let's say from a use case perspective, again, somebody adds a big disk to the VM and still expects you to restore this VM inside 2 hours. It's not going to be possible, right? But instead of telling that to the person after they come to you with a disaster, then you tell him, hey, I need 6 or 10 or 24 hours to restore the data. You can tell him as soon as he adds the disk, you'll come back to him and say, look, I can't restore this in 2 hours. Either you need to be okay and sign off that you're fine with us restoring this in 10 hours, or remove this disk, or, the point is you can react before it's too late, and before your let's say, job is in jeopardy and your company is in jeopardy in the first place, right? And as you can see, the dashboard is always something you can drill into and find out what's causing the particular compliance issue. Any questions on this? I think.
Yeah, we got a few. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Marko, just for because when I started looking at this was one thing that so actually within the policies, you obviously we set the target where we want the data to be put. But actually, one of the cool things that I found out actually relatively recently was you can actually let HYCU decide where you store the data, right, depending on the policy. So if you say, oh, I need that Oracle VM, I need it back in an hour, right? But you've got an AWS bucket, you've got, Nutanix objects, you've then got Wasabi, and you've got, data domain, for instance, as all of these things that you can have. You can actually let HYCU decide, right? And it will, dependent on all these different things, go, okay, this is the one that's going to best meet the policy. So it kind of does your performance and capacity management for you, which I thought was amazing. I think that's a really cool thing. And are we able to show a webhook? What it looks like in a
Yeah,
webhook?
definitely. So as we were mentioning from the scanning perspective, this is great that you can report on it. You can get, you can configure everything in UI, but the point is you can also the scanner can also send data via webhooks into pretty much any tool. So I've configured here in the demo environment to send it into Teams, and I'm getting all the, there's incremental scans being done. It's all successful. And all right, so this before one of these actually found something in one of the machines, so it's actually going to notify me, hey, something is wrong, and then again I can react based on this webhook. So this can be sent into pretty much anything, right? So that's the beauty of it.
Amazing. Thank you. Right, let's go into a few of the questions. Right, so Greg's asked kind of two things. So the first one is anomaly detection leveraging Nutanix built in, or are we looking at from the entropy side, from the HYCU side? I'm pretty sure we're doing it ourselves. So we're not taking anything from Nutanix. We're doing it purely on our own. That way you can also use Nutanix's one, R1, and you've kind of got that double barrier of protection again on top of what we deliver.
Yep, correct.
And then Greg again has said, is it fair to say that anomaly detection is based on entropy and malware scanning is actually hashing and looking at Yara-defined signatures?
Yes.
Yes, correct, Greg. You've understood everything we have said so far. You passed the test. Darshan, you have asked, do you have any demo labs available to self-explore? So if you're a customer partner prospect, you can lab this, but it's not available right now because it's not GA, as we said. So give us a few weeks, we'll have it up and running. I'm also part of the team.
We have a HYCU learning center, by the way. So this one has a number of different labs which you can play with. And as soon as the new release is out, you can actually get a hands-on environment from us to go through these labs and experience hands-on HYCU. And as part of, as soon as 5.2 is out, we're going to actually update the environments as well. So you'll be able to play hands-on with this as well.
Yeah, and I'm also part of the project where we're doing where we're going to be giving people like sandbox environments and guided labs to be able to do as well. So no sign up or anything else like that. Just going to be hosted in a web page or behind a URL. You can go in and it'll be like hotspot guide. So like oh, click this now, let's navigate to here. So you'll be able to kind of like do a demo run through of yourself. So we're building those out as we speak. So in the next few weeks you should see those start to land on our website as well. So that'll be another way to experience HYCU. And then Mike has asked, is there a limit to the number of VMs or capacity that can be scanned in a day? Probably going to be it depends is the answer, but
depends.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's the limit. There is a limit for sure. We've been scanning. I don't know. We have a couple of beta customers doing scanning already with 500 machines. It's going fine. It goes through in a day. It's we can up also the resources, but also you can configure multiple scanners. So these are kind of separate instances which we have. So you can have multiple of them and then distribute the load between them. So to make sure that we can actually get the job done. Right?
Yeah, and you can scale out essentially your backup infrastructure from your scanning infrastructure. So you can keep your backup infrastructure as minimal and as tight and as small as lean as possible. Then your scanning, you can scale that independently as well, which is a nice thing. You don't have to suddenly have HYCU, this HYCU monster machine that's a terabyte in memory, and because it's doing every single thing, there's a different component to it as well. So that's really good. So
think of the concept of HYCU instances which we have for files, Nutanix files, in a similar concept we have also here for the scanning.
Amazing. Well, that is all the questions we have so far. So I'll give it just a few more minutes in case anyone has any more questions. But if not, then I appreciate you, Marco. Thanks for doing a demo, and hopefully everyone's found this interesting as to what we're doing and the kind of the new things we're adding and the extra cyber capabilities for your Nutanix infrastructure is hopefully going to be beneficial to everybody. So I can't see any more questions that have come in, so I'm going to close out the webinar. Thank you for your time. Remember to sign up for next week's, which is all about recovery and readiness. So that's probably going to be a bit deeper. We're going to look at things like recovery into the cloud, recovery across hypervisor, granular restores, validation, all these types of things.
The
So
cloud.
like a big chunky one next week. So kind of the real meat of how do you get your data back. So make sure you sign up to that one. But thank you all for your time. I appreciate everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.